Hey everybody, welcome to Investing in Cannabis. Another great episode, video episode on tap for you with Steve of Confident Cannabis. This is a very important company that you may have not heard of yet. They started with a big lab testing software, but they have infiltrated brands all over the place. They're building this fantastic marketplace. That's the end goal. Steve is super sharp. He's raised a bunch of money and you're gonna see why. Thanks for joining us, guys. You can put anything you want in your ears, and you chose to listen to me, and I appreciate that. I promise you will learn a ton. I learned a ton. Tune in, listen up, get acquainted.
Steve, this is so overdue, man.
Yeah.
We first connected in 2015.
Yeah.
We've definitely shaken hands 4 times.
At least, yeah.
You spoke at Elevate in 2016. We're just talking about how we're going to do that again in 2020. Really exciting. But welcome. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
here,
for
man.
having me, man. Yeah.
We're in beautiful, rainy Venice Beach today.
Which is a surprise because San Francisco was rainy too. I was hoping for some sun.
You know, it's making me feel nostalgic. I lived in San Francisco for 9 years, and it's the weather here is San Francisco.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in the month of November so far.
Yeah.
It's December.
Yeah. So anyway, man, I'm really happy to be here. Like we were saying earlier, that before we started this company way back in 2015. I mean, we started the company in 2015, but
which in weed years is
forever,
175 years.
Yeah. We're 4.5 years old, and that's crazy. I would watch your show, and I saw the interview with Emily Paxia from Poseidon and David Hua from Meadow, and
shout out.
Yeah, and I was thinking, man, it'd be cool to be on that show one day. We gotta really do a lot of work first, and then here we go. 4.5 years later.
That warms my heart to hear that.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we started doing this shit, is so that people could learn and be inspired. And that's so humbling, man. How much money have you raised? A fuckload of money.
I wouldn't say it's a fuckload. It's
by Silicon Valley, Stanford graduate school numbers, but by cannabis, it is.
Yeah. So we've done 3 rounds and we've done 18 million. Today.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For you to say that you're excited to be on my show after raising $18 million is a big deal.
Well, it's true, man.
I'm going to do,
guys are OG.
Okay, this is a really authentic plug that I'm going to do for the sponsor of this episode. Are you ready?
Yeah.
NorCal Cannabis Company.
Yeah.
You know them well,
yeah.
right? This is our sponsor.
Cool.
They told me when they signed our contract that they paid for advertising on 4 podcasts. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
High Times, New York Times, NPR, and Investing in Cannabis.
That's cool. You're good company there.
Dude, I almost cried. I was like, wow. And the numbers are consistent with that as well. The dollars.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, shout out NorCal. Was that an authentic plug or was that an authentic plug?
That was good.
I think they deliver to 10 million Californians within 60 minutes.
Wow.
That's fucking impressive,
That
right?
is. Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a lot.
Let's get into the show.
All right.
Tell me what Confident Cannabis is.
Yeah. So Confident Cannabis is a software platform that helps cannabis operators buy and sell from each other more efficiently. We do that with lab testing software that helps everybody see what's out there and make sure it's lab tested and compliant. And then we help buyers track, the whole transaction workflow.
And that's really been the entry point, right? Is the lab testing product. This is a land and expand strategy that was thought of ahead of time?
Yeah, so we haven't pivoted. It's been a 2-part strategy from the beginning. Step 1 is if we're going to be a successful marketplace, we need to have lots of supply and we need to have lots of information, which means lab data about the supply. So we took the long, hard road of step 1, build lab software, get all that lab data, get all the vendors who test with those labs signed up. And we did that for about 3 years. It went pretty well. We have about half of the cannabis produced in the U.S. every month going through our platform. And step 2 is effectively put a buy button on those results. And so that's the marketplace.
Amazing.
And so we launched our marketplace in Oregon a year ago, and then we're launching our marketplace in California. We're soft launching right now, but quietly. Yeah.
Quietly.
Yeah. So
what does that mean?
Right
what is
now
the playbook
is
to
December,
move to California?
Right? November, December. And then, we'll start inviting other buyers to the platform to actually start transacting in January, February.
So it's like a closed group of buyers. Sorry for this.
Right now, it's just onboarding vendors. Yeah, so we have about 40% of the vendors in California on the lab testing platform, and we're kind of making sure that people are ready, willing, and able with nice listings and everything right like that right now. So when we launch, we have upwards of 20 great brands with great products, prices, everything's ready to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And tell me about Oregon, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the test case.
Yeah.
And did you think I'm going to start in Oregon and then go to California? I'm going to figure it out in Oregon and then go to what is the 800-pound gorilla in California?
Yeah. So just for context, when we started in 2015, recreational wasn't legalized in California yet.
Yeah.
So we didn't know if it would happen.
Yeah.
Right. But we kind of expected it to. So we didn't really say California is the second state. We never kind of made that conscious decision. But we did say Oregon first, right? Oregon first for lots of reasons. It's not a tiny state, but it's also not you're not betting the farm day one. There are lots
Just
of
for
buyers and
perspective,
sellers.
how many people live in Oregon?
I think the number's about 4 million.
Yeah. My 21-year-old sister's a junior at the University of Oregon. She loves it there. Anyway, side note.
Yeah.
But so 4 million people in Oregon.
Compared to California's 40 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So it's 1/10 the size of California. But it has a lot of similarities, right? It's got a really long-standing cannabis culture. There's lots of great products, farms. The regulations at the time were really forward-thinking, well-developed. Lab testing was a big deal back then, and now it's since been a big deal in almost every other state. So for lots of reasons, Oregon was kind of a leading indicator for us, and we saw that this would be a really great place to try out our model. Examples where we wouldn't have a good time right now is, let's say, New York right now, right? Very vertical, very constrained. Florida, we don't need to be there right now. But I think, in the future, every state's going to look more like California and Oregon, right?
Is that a good thing? California's kind of fucked it up, in my opinion.
California's fucked up the implementation, but the ecosystem is really strong, right? People in California are very...
And by ecosystem, you mean there's a lot of stoners?
There's a lot of stoners. There are a lot of knowledgeable people. There are a lot of great products coming out. A lot of innovation. Lots of it's a free market. Anybody can be an entrepreneur, start a company. You can't do that in these other states that have limited licensing, right? So yeah, I think California is a great model from an ecosystem perspective.
But what about the taxes?
Yeah, taxes are never good. We're an ancillary company, so we don't have to pay those same
you're
taxes.
a very smart man.
Well, I don't know if that's smart. It's just
But you thought about this, right?
Well, yeah, we wanted to be nationwide. So that was one big thing. That when we started a company, we wanted to be able to do this nationwide. And at the time, the regulations didn't look like we could be plant touching and be nationwide at the same time. A lot of brands or plant touching companies are able to do nationwide right now. But they have to jump through all these hoops, and it's hard to get banking, and you have to license your brands in these weird ways. So we didn't want to deal with that. So yeah, taxes in California, taxes are going up next year. That's a bummer. I think it's a really bad idea unless the state desperately needs the money for something.
So you're a data guy.
Yeah.
I've heard on multiple occasions that between 60 and 80% of cannabis sold in California is illicit, is illegal. And so is that true? What's your percentage? What's your best guess? Because data in the cannabis industry, as you know.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's 60 to 80%, but that wouldn't really surprise me all that much, especially if you consider those purchases going out of state. So maybe those purchases are happening in state and going out of state. Who knows? But yeah,
that's true. That's fair.
It's definitely a large chunk. I saw data in Colorado, for instance, that it was 10%. I don't think California is anywhere near 10%. But the other big part of it is
10% what
is illicit.
That's it.
That's it. I mean, that's the stuff that I read from the state.
I think that it might be as much as the inverse of that.
In Colorado?
No,
in California.
In California.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's so many people that buy weed that are just off the grid, man. I mean, for starters, how many illegal aliens are there here? I know undocumented citizens. Honestly, Mexicans are the best people in the whole world. I love Mexicans and Latin Americans, Latinos of all kinds.
That's
I lived in Spain. I lived in Spain.
I love you too, buddy.
Thank you, man. But let's be honest, like, how many undocumented Latinos are there here in California? How many of them smoke weed? These are the hardest working people in the world. They're fucking breaking their back. They're definitely smoking weed at night, you know?
Maybe. I actually think that.
I guess they're really religious.
So I grew up in Mexico, and in Mexico,
Where?
In Mexico City.
Okay.
And far fewer people smoked weed in Mexico City than in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like my neighborhood, my school, or anything like that. It just has a very different culture. Now, people drink a lot, right? People drink a lot more in Mexico than in the U.S. Drinking age is
Really?
lower. It's a lot more
Everybody is
tolerated.
hammered in L.A., man.
Yeah. Maybe, but that's because they're going to like clubs and stuff and bars.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah. San Francisco's not like that,
yeah.
right? You live in San Francisco?
I live in the peninsula. Yes, so not
Where?
quite San
Where do you
Francisco,
live?
in Menlo Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I live in the burbs. Married with
Okay.
kids. Yeah.
So let's go back to this. You are 100% a tech bro, right?
Maybe.
Truth?
I have to own it.
Just
I guess.
own it, man.
Why
I
not?
am too.
Yeah.
It was my whole 20s. It was my entire 20s.
Sure.
I feel very grateful that I've made this transition as you have into cannabis. It's way more fun. It's way better.
It's way better.
But if I put my investor hat on, you obviously thought about this ahead of time. If I don't have a plant touching business, if I focus on a national brand and offering, I can raise $18 million. That you thought about this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we thought a lot about our business model. And so, when we talk about what we do to cannabis people, they kind of get it. They understand why lab testing leads to marketplace because that's all the supply and it has to be tested anyway. But when we talk to people outside the industry, they don't get it. They're like, there's never been a marketplace that started with a lab software. That's crazy. What are you doing? And the reason we kind of arrived at it was just thinking a lot about the industry and seeing what problems were out there. And we heard over and over that buying and selling is too hard. And if we could just know what's out there, what's being made and who makes it and give it to the world in real time, then that would help solve that problem. But then we said, okay, well, how do we get all that information? So we kind of that's how we got to labs. And it was this, decision, are we going to build Gmail to build Google, right? Our YC mentor told us that, Mike Siebel. He's like,
you were the first cannabis company in YC?
Second, Meadow was first, yeah.
Meadow was first.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
shout out David Hua. I miss him. I used to live a block from him in North
man.
Beach.
Yeah.
And his wonderful family, Stephanie and their daughter. Anyway, shout out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. It's cool. We're going to see him next week in Vegas.
Yeah.
We're co-hosting an event there.
The brunch thing?
Yeah, the Wake and Bake.
Yeah, I went to that.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
You should come. Are you coming again?
I don't know if I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm still undecided. I might go for like a day.
Go for
I
that.
kind of hate it.
I'm with you, but you should go for the brunch.
I've been the last 3 years in a row. I would come for the brunch, actually. So Hash House A Go-Go.
Yep.
Total side tangent.
Yeah.
The guy that founded Hash House A Go-Go is my family hired as a restaurant consultant to build our restaurant brand. And so Great Maple, which is my family's restaurant chain, there's 4 of them in Southern California,
Awesome.
was designed essentially. It's been tweaked a lot, and my older sister runs it. She's put a lot of effort into it, but originally was designed by Johnny Rivera, who also started Hash House. So just kind of a
There you go.
funny little
It's
thing.
all in the family.
Yeah, all in the family.
Yeah.
So you've raised $18 million. The last tranche was when? When did you close it?
Yeah, so the Series A we announced in April of this year.
Poseidon.
Poseidon was the lead. We also had Y Combinator, Bullpen Capital.
And Bullpen did the first round, right?
Bullpen did our second round.
Did the second round.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Yes.
did a friends and family, or you did a seed? to start
No,
with?
so the first round was a $3 million seed coming out of YC.
And did you have money
and-
in it already? Or no?
We had a few friends. I didn't invite family.
Software.
but-
you didn't
but-
need that much money. And you're technical. You're
I'm actually not. So yeah, you say I'm a tech bro, but I'm actually not the tech guy in the company at all.
I'm not either, but my whole career was in technology. So
Yeah. So actually, this is my first time in tech too.
Yeah.
So tech and cannabis are kind of new. Before this, I was in finance in New York in the consumer products industry, actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, that's very relevant.
yeah,
CPG
which
stuff.
is why I was interested in cannabis, right? So I wanted it to be. Legal.
I didn't mean to
wanted it be-
typecast you, man.
It's
but
all good. I'll own it. I mean, I am wearing this, right?
You are. It's you.
For those in the podcast,
Dude,
this is a Patagonia.
You're widely recognized in the cannabis industry as like one of the great minds that we have, man.
That's too much. I can't take that one.
No,
but-
shut up, man. I'm saying it. I've talked to several people. Go talk to who owns. He was on the show. The other founder in Trees, Sharif.
Oh yeah, Sharif.
Direct from
Johnny.
his fucking mouth. What I just said.
Sharif's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sharif was actually one of our first customers. He's related to this
Sharif
lab.
was one of everybody's first
was our
customers.
first customer. It's a lab called EA Labs. He was one owner in that lab. And this is a classic like little startup story. So we're in YC. They're like, what's your growth rate? We don't have a growth rate. We haven't shipped our product yet. Like, well, you got to ship it. It's not going to be ready for 2 months. You got to ship it next week. Like, what are we going to do? Okay, fine. So we hacked something together and we gave it to Sharif's lab, EA Labs, and Justin Fischetic. Shout out to Justin. He's one of the best scientists in the whole industry. He's like, yeah, I'll use your software. And it had like no features. And he used it for a week. And he says, guys, I can't use it anymore. We lost our first customer. We said, okay, well, just tell us everything you need. We wrote down a list. All right, give us 2 weeks. We go and we bang it all out. We come back 2 weeks later. We give it to him. All right, now start using it. He used it for a week and says, guys, I can't use it anymore. So he said, what do you need? And so it was back and forth. And it was totally humiliating being in these YC meetings where they're like, what's your growth rate? And we don't have one. And by the way, we lost our first customer 2 times, right? But you just keep at it and you keep hacking away.
Going.
And then, now we have.
And you stay nimble, right? You stay flexible. I mean, honestly, if you're listening to this and you're a founder, you should rewind that, because that was the perfect example of the lean startup model and how you should do it. And you've got to create an MVP. You've got to do it quickly. You're running out of money. You're running out of time. You got to get it in the hands of someone that's actually going to use it. Right. They're going to give you that brutal feedback, and you better be able to change quickly. That's how you build a tech startup. Anyway.
Yeah, and you keep going. And so we have a really strong philosophy that we only want to build what customers ask for. So we have our master plan vision, which is helping the cannabis industry buy and sell more efficiently. That's going to stay there until we believe for some reason that that's not a problem anymore, or somebody else solved it better than we can, which isn't the case yet. But with that is really the only guide. Everything else, like, okay, so what do you need? How do we make it better? Listen to feedback. And I think that's carried us well. Yeah, it's hard because sometimes you disagree with your customers. You want to go in a different direction. But if you don't build something people want, then nobody's going to use it.
Very well said. So tell me about the traction, the inflection points that led you to raise more money.
Yeah. So the first inflection point, which I have to say is Y Combinator, we pitched that demo day with no real software, no product, no customers. Yeah, this is a lot. And we happened to raise $3 million from that, which is insane. Like 2015 Silicon Valley. That's the only way we could have done that. So getting into the YC was pivotal for that first round.
Tell me about your YC interview, because this is the thing. They bring you in for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And what do they say?
Well, they asked us a bunch of questions which are completely irrelevant. And I think that the way that we answered them gave them confidence that we could either figure things out or disagree with conviction, right? So they asked questions like, well, so why don't you just go nationwide? And we had to explain, interstate commerce is illegal. It's like, well, why don't you just, be a distributor? Like, well, because then we have to get a license and we can, and explain licensing. And so all
they were that knowledgeable about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were just thinking cannabis is going to look like, consumer packaged goods, food and beverage.
But
right?
they had enough foresight to. I mean, they obviously had read your application. Yeah. They were familiar.
Yeah, and so Justin Kahn, who was one of the partners who interviewed us, you get 3 people interviewing you. Justin Kahn was really close to Meadow. So he knows the industry relatively well, and he kind of vouched for us to get in.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, it's like you don't.
He knows
have a
it
chance
pretty
to pitch.
well. I mean, his name's popping up in all kinds of cannabis stuff now.
Yeah,
he spoke at the DCM conference, right?
Right.
Yeah. Did you go to that?
Yeah. That was.
I didn't
one,
go.
Actually.
Was it good?
I thought it was really good.
Got it. Yeah. I should have gone. I don't know. I was somewhere else.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the first inflection point. The next inflection point was when we got to 50% of nationwide supply with our lab software, and so that was what we used to bring in bullpen.
Break that down. 50% of the legal cannabis in the country is now going through your software.
Yeah.
That's a pretty tremendous moment.
Yeah. And the way we measure that is by, seeing how many labs are out there, seeing which states require lab testing, looking at the clients who test with those labs and comparing that to the public list of licenses. And so, we have roughly 50%. Today it's a little more than 50%, but the market's grown a lot, so it's hard to keep that number fixed.
What does that mean in terms of dollars?
Yeah, so we look at the wholesale value, right? Because we don't do retail to consumer. So nationwide, let's say 2019 retail sales is maybe 13 billion. We estimate 2/3 of that is wholesale, and it's not to say that there's only a 50% markup because there's a bigger market, but a lot of cannabis gets traded back and forth, right? So for instance, we can participate in the bulk biomass to the extractor, and then the bulk oils to the edibles manufacturer. And those are all the same THC molecule getting traded more than once, right? So let's say the wholesale market's about 9 billion, and we have about 4.5 billion of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
It's a big number, but it's all
and
latent
how,
supply, right?
How consistent is the formula of that GMV? Is that what you call it?
Yeah. We call it. I think we call it implied GMV for our.
Okay.
Because it's implied GMV. Because we know the batch exists because of the test.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that's a 5-pound batch or 50-pound
so
batch.
So gross market value.
Yeah.
Right. Of 4 billion. And how closely does that translate to the money that you raise? Or is it we need X dollars?
It's more we need X dollars. Yeah. So so the first 2 rounds we did using a safe, which you can just pick a cap, and we didn't. Yeah, we just said, okay, here's our cap, which is kind of a valuation.
Did you do a discount as well?
We didn't do a discount as well.
And how did you make that decision?
We didn't need to do a discount as well.
You had plenty of takers.
Yeah, we were oversubscribed in a month or two for both rounds, and so we didn't.
And how valuable is the Stanford network in raising that money?
It's really not that valuable.
No?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Because people that listen to the show, they're faced with all these questions. Do I go get a Stanford MBA? Do I work at Google? Do I raise now? Do I raise later? All these things that you successfully have traversed.
Yeah. I mean, I loved my Stanford experience. I learned a lot of good things, but the network hasn't really been there for. I mean, we might have, I don't know, less than 10% of our capital raised came from some sort of Stanford network.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty small. Maybe a couple people, but not a lot.
And YC, how about YC?
YC's been great. YC's invested, north of $5 million in our company so far.
Wow.
So.
And what class were you? When did you go through?
2015.
Oh, so it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, they got to be pretty happy about this one. You're trending the right direction. I mean, I know they have some big ones.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not in the top 10% of their pack.
Still, but this is a new asset class for them.
Yeah.
It is. It's different. Whether they want to admit it or not, they're talking CPG,
They have a lot
not
of other
CPU.
great YC
you like that?
cannabis companies.
CPG, not CPU.
Yeah.
I'm actually a rapper,
that was clever.
too. I'm a rapper, too.
I almost missed that one. But yeah, no, they invested in cool companies like Cannabis. And
love Cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another YC
He's been
company.
on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, they have pretty good cannabis exposure now. They've done a lot in this space since.
Well, like 5?
No, I think it's been a lot more than 5.
A lot more?
Yeah, I think it's more than 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's probably some I don't even know.
A
California Dreamin's been on the show.
Yeah. Flower Co.
Flower Co.
Yeah.
Been on the show.
Yeah.
Who else?
They're great.
There was one that failed, right? A banking thing.
There was
Cetera or something.
there was one in our
MSO.
there was a Bitcoin banking thing in our class that ended up failing.
What was that called? Do you remember?
I can't even remember right now.
I saw them. I don't know.
The guy's name was Tariq.
Yeah.
But
that was early days.
But they also have like a tissue culture cloning company. They have some yeast cannabinoid it's like some really crazy biotech stuff.
You know about Node Labs?
Yeah, I've heard of Node Labs.
Felipe and those guys?
I don't know if
Dan?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Felipe is a character.
I don't know.
You should. Interesting dude. I will. We got to have him on the show too. We got to have an IC News with Felipe. His brain. He's like mapped out the entire future of the cannabis industry, and like from all levels. And he's placed a bet in every portion. He's crazy, dude. Like honestly,
yeah.
He's like
that's what we call an indeterminate optimist.
This is going to be a huge compliment, but he's like a sort of Renaissance type guy. Like he's all over the place.
Lots of different things.
And he's brilliant, but he's just like scattered. So it's exciting to be around him.
Yeah. That's cool.
Anyway.
Full of ideas, yeah.
Anyway. So there's probably few people that have a better perspective on lab testing than you do.
Yeah, know a lot about that.
And it's all over the place, right? I mean, there was a time where I read that some crazy percentage, 65% of stuff like had pesticides and shit in it.
Yeah.
And then we cleaned that up, I think.
For the most part.
The result is we have a lot shittier weed, unfortunately. But we did clean that up. And now it seems that the focus has come to the vape market and VapeGate. I've talked a lot about it on this show, but people never seem to get sick of this topic.
Yeah.
I guess it's very relevant for them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really good metaphor for how regulators just haven't learned the lesson, right? So we wrote an article that's coming out in Entrepreneur Magazine, which is, it's not really relevant anymore because VapeGate is kind of old news at this point. But it's
Is it though?
It's not. That's the point. It's like a metaphor for. So, for instance, you would think that the regulators and the lawmakers who legalize cannabis did it in part because they said, if we make something illegal, it makes it unsafe and we can't track it. But if we legalize it, people are going to continue to do it, but they'll do it in a safer way. That's kind of the premise of legalization, I think, in large part, right? Uh-huh. It's not the only reason, but it's an important reason. All of a sudden, you get VapeGate, and they're like, the first thing they do is make it illegal. They ban these vapes.
Yeah.
But guess what? Everybody goes to the illicit market where they're buying the most harmful kind of vapes. And the stuff that was legal ended up being fine anyway.
I haven't heard anybody
come
put
on,
it...
guys, put it together.
I haven't heard anybody put it that succinctly, but you're 100% right, man.
Yeah, it's like, when are you going to learn your lesson, guys? Like, every single time something goes wrong, we should legalize it.
Right.
We should, every time there's an opiate
the other
death,
way.
Let's legalize it. All these things, and let's regulate it, because that's the only way you can make it safer.
Right.
Right.
And we have. I feel like in California, we've done a lot to make it safe, right? I mean, I'm very confident that if you go into MedMen, and I'm just going to pick MedMen because everybody knows what that is. I don't go to MedMen, but actually I don't really go anywhere. I'm so lucky. People just bring me weed. Honestly, it's one of the things you thought a lot about your business strategy. Eric and I thought about this.
How do we get free weed?
Yeah. We'll never pay for weed again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's good.
Side note. What was I saying? What were we talking about? MedMen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very confident that if you go into MedMen today and you buy a vape, Chemistry, they're a client of ours.
Brand.
So great brand.
Yeah.
Best vape in the world. Still, for me.
They had a really great silent disco at Meadowlands.
Oh, I'm glad you had fun. Yeah.
That's fun.
Cool. No, that's real, man. That's what these brands are trying to do, right? They want people to walk away and say, I had fun.
Yeah. That's cool.
You associate Chemistry now with that fun.
Yeah.
That's how you build a brand, right?
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay, so if I go into MedMen and I buy a Chemistry cart, maybe Blood Orange Kush, that's the best one they've ever made. I'm so confident. I'm confident Cannabis that you're going to be good. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Look, if you're smoking 4 carts a day, well, you're going to have a problem, right? Are we shocked that vaping is potentially dangerous?
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me a fucking break.
It's got to be pretty hard to smoke 4 in a day. Those things last a long time for me.
So I won't call her out, but I met a brand ambassador recently, and they're going to be a sponsor on the show, so I'm not going to name it.
Right.
But she comes over, and in kind, I give her a Chemistry vape cart because I'm also a brand ambassador in my own way. And the next day she came back because she actually brought me the wrong weed, and she had to bring it back. I didn't care, but she really cared. She's like, yeah, I smoked half the cart already. It's really good.
Wow. On the way.
And it had been like 12 hours, Wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, rad. Obviously, I gave it to the right person, but damn.
Yeah, that's pretty good. For me, carts are like those old Bic pens where you never really get to finish it, And if you ever you did it once in your life where you got to the end of a pen, right? You end up losing them or breaking them. It's like the same thing with me and my carts, right? Like I give them to people, my cousin steals it, whatever, right? I never finish a cart.
Girls always end up with my vapes because I'm hammered and I'm outside a bar, and they're like, "Oh, let me try that," and then just disappears.
Yeah,
just disappears.
You never finish carts.
Anyway. So, talk to me more about this VapeGate. What does the testing actually say? How many of these batches are failing?
So, one thing is failing for the things that regulations didn't allow. Another thing is failing for the things that cause VapeGate. So the CDC put out we all knew that it was vitamin E acetate, right? Like people in the industry kind of connected the dots at that point. But the CDC finally said, yeah, it was vitamin E acetate was the main culprit. That wasn't a banned chemical, and it still isn't in most states yet. But some states are starting to ban vitamin E acetate in vapes for obvious reasons. So things could have been passing regulatory testing and had vitamin E in them. But we know from talking to patients, looking at their purchase behaviors and all these things, that they weren't actually, for the most part, buying through legal stores. And when this whole thing came out, labs started offering vitamin E, even if it wasn't required, and nobody has vitamin E in it. Vitamin E is just a really cheap way to cut the oil, So yeah, it's basically cutting it, right? It's just a cheap oil that looks cool,
I mean, this
right?
is the baby powder and the cocaine,
right?
Yeah.
So good legal operators don't need to do that. It's usually just cannabis and terpenes. Maybe they'll add PEG or something like that, but you're not going to use vitamin E. It's kind of creative.
So I don't think you answered the question.
So what percentage of failures?
Yeah.
Well, it depends so much on the state and the point in time.
Okay.
Right. So for example, and it depends on the product category. So just for example, in Michigan right now, the medical legislation's new. It's about a year in. Adult use is starting now. So everybody's moving from this, caregiver model to a licensed business model, and everything's kind of changing. And the licensed operators are brand new. They don't know what they're doing. They're making mistakes. And the caregivers just didn't really have to think about these things before. And so, in Michigan, a lot of people are failing. Doesn't mean they're evil there. Doesn't mean the weed's bad there. It's just they have to adapt. In Oregon, that's had the same regulations for the most part for years. Almost everybody passes. When Nevada started testing, almost everybody failed. Now almost everybody passes.
Okay.
So it just depends. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
But the overwhelming result is that
The legal stuff was passing.
before too long, yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you buy, I don't want to say 100% because that's too strong.
It's science. Yeah.
But the vast majority of the stuff you buy in a legal store or from a legal delivery company is going to be safe. Like there's no reason to fear, getting, whatever it's called, VAPI syndrome by buying chemistry cards or PAX cards.
Do you have a feeling for how many of those cases are cannabis versus nicotine vapes?
I think most of them were cannabis. Because, I think because, not to say that nicotine wasn't also part of the problem, but I think it was mostly the cannabis carts that were diluted with vitamin E. I don't think nicotine carts were diluted with vitamin E.
Yeah, because they're cheap and you don't buy them illegally, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so you've got half the market. Congratulations. You don't feel that way?
No, I do.
Not
but
enough.
It's not. I don't want to boast about it.
I'm boasting for you, man. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
There's a lot of bullshit software operators in the world, but you know that. So there are others. Give me the pitch. Why do I want to use Confident Cannabis?
Yeah. So if you're a retailer, for instance, you deal with maybe 30, 40 vendors. You could go to their website every time you need to restock. You could text your sales rep, email them. It takes a ton of time to know what's out there. And in a market like California that's changing, everybody's going in and out of business. Some people are on metrics, some people aren't. You have to stay compliant. It's just really hard to know what's out there. So if you go to a place like Confident Cannabis, it's a one-stop shop. You can see 10 out of the 20 vendors that you use regularly, and you can discover other new vendors. So let's say, you carry, a gelato strain that's selling really well, and all of a sudden you're out. You need to find something similar, but you don't know who to go to. You go to Confident Cannabis, search gelato, boom, there you see the 10 other gelato strains that are in stock, tested, available right now, and you didn't know who the farms were before. And you can compare the quality and all this
I
stuff.
love that strain, by the way.
It's a good strain. So anyway, so that there's a one-stop shop to find everybody you're currently carrying and discover new people you're not carrying. As a vendor, it's super easy because all you need to do is test like you already are. We automatically create those inventory listings for you, so you don't have to do that heavy lifting. And then you just sit back and get orders. You don't pay us unless you get orders.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
That pitch is like, you don't pay us unless you get orders?
Yeah.
I used to make that pitch. I worked for OnFleet for a long time.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, to get our customer base started, we had a pay by the credit. So like you paid per delivery.
Okay.
And so I would tell dispensaries all the time, I would say, look, we don't make any money unless you do a delivery and you make money, and you're paying us like 12 cents or something,
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you made $50,
Right.
You know, and they're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I get that,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the what you're going to do with the newest tranche of money. So $5 million came in of the 18. Is that what you
12.
said? 12 of the 18.
Yeah, so last round was 12.
So you had raised 6,
Yeah.
3 and 3. Were they
Yeah,
in equal
roughly,
parts?
yeah.
Okay. And that got you to what kind of revenue point where you were? You don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not
if you
going to
want
disclose revenues publicly.
See, that's my job. I ask the questions, and then you have to say no.
Yeah.
It's just like
I can tell you what we used the last tranche for, though.
Okay, great.
So when we raised the Series A, we had, I think, 11 or 12 employees.
Yeah.
Now we have 36 people, which is great. Which
Amazing.
is awesome.
Amazing.
And now we actually have a team to do all the awesome things that we want to do.
And you're hiring still. I saw on your LinkedIn.
Still hiring,
what are you hiring for?
Yeah, we'll take all the engineers and salespeople we can.
Okay.
So people can build
and
things,
what
people
kind
can
of
sell things.
engineers? What kind of languages?
So our tech stack is Django and React on the front end.
Yeah.
AWS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Everybody, I mean, not everybody.
A lot of
People know that.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
market for that. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Django's the best Tarantino movie, by the way. Just
Oh yeah.
Side note. you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Yeah.
You said Django.
Because I was just talking about the new Tarantino movie. With
Did you
Brad
like
on
it?
The airport. Yeah,
Well, how many minutes
I
are we
kinda
into
did.
the show? Oh, good. We could talk about whatever we want now. Because the way it works is the first half, I try to be crisp because people listen. And then at some point, a lot of people drop off.
Yeah.
And so then if you're really still listening to this after 30 minutes,
Yeah.
like you're a fan, you
Yeah,
know?
you
Like,
keep going.
so, yeah.
I want to know Steve's opinion on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I liked it. I mean, not a lot happens. It was very different Tarantino, but I think they got the period piece really well. The acting was awesome.
What I didn't really understand was how did the Charles Manson thing fit in? Like, was that the story or was that the foil? Like, what was it?
So the way I interpreted it was that's what you think's going to happen the whole time. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, no spoiler alert.
But yeah, it was, to me, it was a literary device to get you interested and be a little bit nervous throughout the whole movie until you find out what actually happens.
Got it.
Because otherwise, without that Manson piece, it's just a guy going about his day, and it would be 3 hours of pretty boring stuff. I
Well,
think.
it was pretty boring. It was
Yeah.
really well made,
I wasn't too bored. Like, I was wondering where it's going, but I wasn't really bored.
but like compared to Inglorious Bastards,
Yeah, it's definitely not
or
that.
Django.
There's only
like,
one violent scene, and it's beautifully violent, but it's like 5-10 minutes at the end.
You know what I would say is, so the longtime director of this show actually is a filmmaker. He pays his bills by doing Kickstarter shit. You know, now he has a startup. It's in the launch incubator actually, which is dope.
Cool.
That's how we met. We both worked on Jason's podcast together.
Okay.
He was the director for that show. So he loves Tarantino, like loves Tarantino. And he's like, you got to go to the theater to watch this movie. And you know, I didn't need to. It could have come out. I torrent movies. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, I watched the extras at the end that explained it, and that gave me a whole much deeper level of appreciation.
Oh.
Because I finished
Where
it.
did you watch that?
I just watched it at home over Thanksgiving.
Like on YouTube or what?
I think it was Apple TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And because it was very critically acclaimed, great director, and I wasn't bored. I was just like, I just got to the end and I was like, I don't really understand it. Like, I'm not getting it. And then I saw the extras that kind of like explained it. I'm like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a movie expert, so I need that little bit of people need to tell me.
So, okay, so you've raised the 12 million in this tranche. And with that money, you're going to hire more people, more engineers. How
Yep.
many engineers do you need?
We have so we have a pretty solid team, but you know, we're always looking for great people. They're really hard to find. So yeah, we don't need a gigantic. I mean, 35 isn't a huge company. A lot of other
No.
companies our age who are
It's very lean.
yeah. Or at
I don't know what your revenue number is, but it's
Yeah.
lean.
Yeah, yeah. We don't need to spend like crazy. But yeah, no, we always want to look for more engineers. So yeah, the next round would really be to kind of rinse and repeat.
Okay.
Right. So we proved out the model for lab testing the marketplace. That's going well in Oregon, and by the time we raise our round middle of next year, it'll be going well in California, hopefully. And so that's a really great pitch to investors to say, hey, look, we did in these 2 markets. There are, 25 other markets we can go to. Give us money to, scale that.
Gasoline on the fire.
That's the pitch. Rinse and repeat. Copy
Okay.
paste.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much will you need? You want to do a B when? Second half of 2020?
Something like that.
In a year?
Yeah. Yeah, probably before a year. But
the holidays.
yeah.
Terrible.
6 to 9 months, I guess.
October,
Yeah.
close, 2020.
Maybe. Yeah.
Of how much money?
I don't know. Probably 20-ish.
Big number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe not in revenue terms, but is there another KPI you can point us to that you hope to reach by that point?
I guess just we need 4 charts going up and to the right. That's always my thing. I think I learned that from Reid Hoffman. It's like if you have 4 charts going up and to the right, you can raise $1 billion.
Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn fame.
Yeah, yeah. I just like the simplicity of that. So we just need 4 charts going up and to the right.
Amazing. And is your deck just 4 charts?
No, we do a lot more than that because so my
this is a delicate thing too.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about this? Because I spend a lot of time working with founders on their deck and their pitch and their presentation and basically how to address middle-aged white men and raise money, right? That's my wheelhouse, like middle-aged white dudes. And if I were gay, oh my God, I would be so well kept. Jesus. But anyway, so tell me about your deck and approaching people and the fundraising process. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge right now.
Yeah, so it depends who we talk to. I see fundraising like sales, right? A lot of people don't think of it like that. It's a sales pitch, and like any good sales pitch, you have to know your audience and you have to know what their problems are. So knowing who you're talking to. So some investors have too much money; they don't have enough investable targets, and so you have to make the point that
Deal flow.
Yeah, you got to give them FOMO, and you got to say you're the hottest game in town, and you're going to close around if they're not in.
And how do you determine they're the right sucker for that ploy?
Well, I wouldn't say they're suckers because maybe they're really successful. I mean, they have a lot of money for some reason, right?
But you're running your game, right?
Yeah, but then other people are, people you really want to convince to maybe they can't write a big check, but they're really valuable for advice or something, or just to be in your network. For them, you got to know what they're good at and say, like, this is how you can help, right? So another kind of thing that I like to do is, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money.
It's one of the best quotes ever.
Yeah, I don't know who said that. No, I don't know, but
we got to find out.
I definitely
Eric, can you
use
find
it all
out
the
who
time.
said that?
Yeah. So yeah, I say, look, here's where we are. This is exciting. That's cool. You get the picture now. But what about this problem? Help us understand that. And then they get all excited because then they get invested and then they'll write you a check to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so we have a pitch deck which we don't change for every
How many
every
slides
pitch.
is it?
15 maybe.
Did you do it yourself?
Yeah. Well, me and Tony. Yeah, my co-founder.
No designer.
For the last round, we did get somebody
Yeah.
to make a template because the last two.
Because you got to look, and you're paying a designer anyway.
Yeah. It wasn't too expensive.
Shout out to Ivan. He was the
Ivan?
designer at OnFleet. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh,
he now works for
cool.
Blue Origin in Seattle.
Oh, cool. The rocket company.
Super cool. Yeah. He's like an amazing UI UX designer. He's like world class.
Yeah. OnFleet has really nice UI.
They do, right? But he did everything. He did the swag. He did the website. He was like,
Cool.
the designer.
Yeah.
But we're building a weed brand, him and I.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's it called?
I don't know yet. What do you think it should be called? Maybe it should be called Illegal.
That one's taken.
No, but
Yeah?
come on, we could do that. So fun. Yeah. No, I mean with you, homie. That's what I meant. Anyway, what as you look at the brand landscape, you know all the brands. I mean, come on.
Many of them. Not all of them, but yeah.
You know all the ones that you need to know. What is missing? What would you do?
What's missing? Well, I think California does a really good job of so California is the exception, right? California has a ton of different products catering to lots of different people. But overall, nationwide, it's still very either hyper medical focused or kind of stoner bro focused. And there's a whole demographic that I think California is addressing really well, which is like the yoga mom or like the backpacker or...
So they're doing their best to address it, but is it working?
I think it is, to be honest, because I think a lot more people... I mean, if we look at just talking about cannabis with the public in California today versus 2015, everybody's cool with cannabis now. Before it's like, really, are you like? I'm not one of those people, right? So now I think brands have done a good job kind of making it accessible and normalized for the most part in California.
It's like being gay. They like had to.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a thing that you just proclaim and you own it.
Can we
and you put it out
add
there.
cannabis to like LGBTQ
C?
C? I feel like that
I don't know
sometimes,
how they would feel
man.
about that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I mean, you can't make everybody happy.
just co-opt the movement.
Yeah, they're probably. That's like
Yeah.
what sexual orientation. What's it called when you take someone's race? Appropriation. Sexual orientation appropriation.
That's a mouthful.
That's like if I, what's the acronym? Sexual SOA. I'm an SOA every time I wear a sleeveless tee.
That's a good brand for your cannabis. SOA. What does it stand for? It's an inside joke. Don't worry about it.
SOA.
Yeah.
SOA.
Yeah.
So we got the
SOA. That's like how a Valley girl says so. SOA.
Yeah.
Anyway.
quote. It's attributed. You're gonna be shocked to Pitbull.
No, shut the fuck up. It's not
Says,
Pitbull.
and it's a little variation. It's ask for money, get advice. Ask for advice, get money twice.
Well, that's just his lyric. But that,
No one else had attribution. It was just some startup bullshit. So
well, I guess then you and I should probably take
Pitbull's
credit for it.
actually a pretty good businessman.
yeah,
He is, man. But come on, that's like a classic,
Yeah.
legendary
Yeah.
line.
It's
Didn't
a-
come from Pitbull.
Yeah, no, he didn't write it, but he made it famous, I guess.
He appropriated it.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it, but I don't listen to Pitbull enough to having heard it from his lyrics.
Worldwide. Dale.
Yeah,
That's Pitbull.
yeah.
Anyway.
I met him. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah,
He was cool?
I actually did business with him. Yeah.
Weed business?
No. This is my last career when I was in food and beverage. He had a vodka company called Voli.
Huh.
You remember that? Anybody want to
No.
Google that?
No, but I don't. But I don't love vodka.
VOLI. It stands for vodka light, and it's just vodka with less alcohol in it, which means more water. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's
So-
not around anymore.
That's a great transition into you and who you are. Is your name Steven?
yes.
Steven. Have you ever seen Your Highness?
No.
You should. The
It's a
lizard's name is Steven, but Danny McBride says it really funny, you know? And he's like, Steven. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
like a cult stoner movie. You
I
know?
haven't seen it.
So, Steven, how much weed do you smoke? Do you like weed?
It's changed a lot over the years.
Yeah?
Yeah. So when I was younger, there was a period of time when it was almost daily. Then I just stopped completely, not for any other reason, just kind of didn't think about it too much. And then in the last 5 years, it's been more kind of on and off, maybe like once a week, once every other week.
Uh-huh.
But the usage is very different. So before it was smoking more at a time with more people, kind of like a party, right?
Yep.
Now I'm much more like a little bit at a time, kind of when I need to meditate on something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just
And
changed.
when you smoke, what do you like? Flowers, oils? What are you?
So I like flower, but I don't like burning stuff. Like I don't like smoke. in
You like
general.
original packs, like a vape?
Yeah, so I like vaping flower. I like vape. Like good oils are great. So like live resins are great.
Okay.
I really like the new Hanu Stone with their Pluto brand.
Nice.
That's probably
Savo
my favorite.
episode came out yesterday.
Yeah, so shout
Yesterday
out to
or
Savo and Hanu.
Monday?
The new Hanu Stone is awesome.
It's really great.
And-
yeah. It's a little
yeah.
big.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
It doesn't fit in my pocket that well. I love Savo. I mean, it's one of
Yeah.
my great friends, but that's
Yeah.
my feedback is it doesn't go in my pocket very well.
I like it. So I have my AirPods in my pocket, and it's kind of like that. So I don't carry my AirPods all the time. And
Do you carry a bag?
No,
Never.
I just have my phone and
Dude, that's gangsta.
Yeah. Well, I have like my credit cards in my phone case, and so I don't need anything else.
No, me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bag, like a man purse, but it only has weed in it. Like
Yeah,
everything
it's your
that
kit.
I need is just on me.
Well, that's
you
why
know?
I like vape cartridges, because you don't need all that other stuff. Like I don't want to have a kit.
Yeah, but look, it's not the same. man.
It's not the same. It's
Yeah.
not the same. Yeah.
I also don't really like pre rolls.
No.
They need to get better.
They're not-
I
yeah.
smoke pre rolls, but I'm not happy about it.
No. I don't like the taste of them very much.
Yeah, I
It
always roll
reminds
my
me
own
of high
joints.
school weed too much.
And I like rolling joints. I'm
Yeah.
good at it, and I got a lot of practice, I suppose.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
This has been so fun, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. From San Francisco. Well, from San Mateo?
Menlo Park.
Menlo Park.
Yeah.
Close enough. Close enough. It's been a pleasure,
Cool, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.